You know, when you tell a guy that you're going for a night spent to a friend's house, and they're like, "Oh, are you going to have a pillow fight?" So, I have never understood why men think that if women spend time together, all they're doing is having pillow fights and in their jammies or perhaps in their imaginations in something less. Similarly, you tell someone you're a Sardar or a Punjabi, and they'll ask you, "Oh, so you must be eating aloo parathas and butter chicken. Oh my god, I just love butter chicken. So do you guys eat like parathas every day? And ghee, there's lots of desi ghee in your food, right? And dahi. Well, as far as the dahi is concerned, I think I'll have to agree because it took me about a few months to get the message across that no one, and I mean no one, the bosses included, was allowed to touch a Sardar's dahi. When I get dahi from home, no one is allowed to touch it. To the extent that when I rejoined work with a similar senior team, someone asked me for dahi at the table, and immediately a senior colleague looked and glared at the table and said, "Don't you know you're not supposed to touch Preeti's dahi?" So yeah, I'll admit that there is a lot about us which is connected to food. Think about all the weddings, especially the ones that we've had in the family, including mine, which of course didn't work out in the end. But yeah, when it was time to plan it, there was an obsession only for two things. One, all the food tasting that went on, and the snacks and the lists and the hundred other things. And second, the collection of booze that my dad had been building for a while. It was all about the daru and the khana. We don't really care. I mean, you go to a lot of Saudi weddings, you might see things like flowers and you might see things like, little bit of decoration and all of that. But believe me, when it comes to the proportion spent, it's always going to be the daru and the food. So, yeah, but there is so much more to growing up in a Punjabi household. It's a lot of fun, it's a lot of craziness, and it's a lot of bizarre logic that you grow up with, which is some of the things that I'm going to explore in this new season, which is on Growing Up Punjabi. Well, someone told me yesterday, a friend called me and said that, all your other podcasts are actually good, but you don't sound like yourself. You sound tired. You sound a little down and out. I think you need to be a little up. And I asked her what up meant. She just said up. So I suppose it is upbeat. It is more being myself, my style of being that loud Sardar in the group always. The one who's always coming up with really dumb jokes. And the one who's always suggesting where we go to eat or what we might order for the table. So, this is what I'm going to do. In this season, which is on Growing Up Punjabi, we're going to explore some of the crazy things that people do not understand about Punjabi homes, households, families, parents, the way the children are treated, and also a lot of the other things that we bring to the table, not just to the table, but to people's lives. Because some of the warmest, nicest, and funniest people I know are fellow Sardars or Punjabis. I'm going to use slang the way that I use slang, things like sardis and panjus, without feeling as if I'm offending anyone. So I hope that is clear right from the very beginning. No offense is meant, and none will be taken for any of the comments that stay within the boundaries of respectful and fun. I hope you enjoy listening to this, and I'm looking forward to exploring some of the madness that comes with growing up Punjabi. and don't get me wrong, just because I talk about food and about could be Punjabi music, could be the surdy jokes, could be the usual stuff that people say about surdis and Punjabis, doesn't mean that I'm perpetuating any stereotypes here. The reason I find myself appreciating growing up in a Punjabi household is that we never took anything too seriously or too hard. And I think it is highly creditable and goes to show the kind of family I was always surrounded with. And I don't mean immediate family, but also cousins and uncles and aunts and the older generation as well, my grandfather and his brothers and sister. And that is where sometimes I feel that the confidence and the happy soul comes from. And that is what I also want to talk about here. And I'm going to be doing a lot of hard work trying to produce this podcast, trying to make it funny, and also editing, looking for some Punjabi music as well, I guess now, because the random one won't do. The least you can do is, my friend, follow, subscribe, like. And with that, I'll wrap up this episode. Don't forget to show me some love by liking, subscribing, and following me on the various platforms that you use to listen to this podcast, as well as my YouTube channel, Preeti Singh. And I'll be back next weekend with an episode on Sardaron ke Bacche. Yes, surdy children. Believe me, we're in a league of our own. And I'll be sharing some of my experiences as well as anecdotes from my childhood and some stories of cousins that you would not believe. Till then, stay happy, stay cheerful, and here's a Punjabi song that I'm going to leave you with that should be a part of your pick-me-up playlist. Have a great weekend.